Hey everybody, how's everybody doing this morning? Um, Bob, thank you for the reminder. I checked the mic just 2 seconds ago and it was off. I don't know why sometimes when I reboot the computer, the mic resets. It it does. I'm so sorry. My God, it's 8 minutes late today. I just can't believe it. I had kind of a bathroom emergency 5 minutes before the stream was supposed to start, so nature called. Yeah, too much information. I know. Sorry about that. Anyhow, thanks for everybody for being here with me on Sunday morning, at least my time. I appreciate all of you coming in to kind of catch up on what we've been doing this week in photography, and I'm here as always to answer any questions you have about Olympus cameras, Olympus workspace, photography in general. Hopefully I can answer most of your questions. Like I say every week, it's like the questions seem to be getting harder and harder. Oh, and for those of you that weren't here Thursday, I wanted to thank you um, for all the condolences and well wishes I got on my because my father passed away, and we did his funeral last week. So I showed a video of that, and I talked about some of the uh, video video capabilities. I used the M1 Mark III with the 12 to 40 Pro, and it was pretty impressive, particularly the image stabilization. And I used the OM400 logs. So if you want to hear a little bit about my experience shooting with that, it was in the Thursday live stream. So you have to go to the playlist because I unlist the live streams after, a few days after they get posted. But if you go to my channel page, there's a playlist that has them all, but they just won't show up like in a search or in videos, like list of videos. It'll show up in a playlist though. Let's see. Yes, nature, we have sound, and let's see. Peter Lysippus, thank you, Lysippus, for the coffee this morning. I appreciate that. Um, and uh, and I guess the other big news, I guess Robin posted his clip this morning. Um, that he is going to be able to continue posting videos, which is, thank goodness, Um, I was it would be such a tremendous loss to, the photography community. And I'm really happy that he's able to continue uh, with his channel because, like I was saying before, it was kind of I kind of rely on the other Micro Four Third channels myself a lot. Not just for the content knowledge that they share and the experience that they bring, but it takes a little pressure off me too a little bit, so I can live stream a little bit more. Uh, because videos are really demanding. And I don't know if Walter's here. Uh, if you're here, Walter, give me a shout out. But I got your text this morning, and because Walter suggested that I try to pause the chat section during the stream so I can kind of catch up, but there's just no way for me to pause it, otherwise you guys wouldn't be able to chit chat, right? So like I say, if I ever miss a question that you want answered, I'm not ignoring it. Just please don't hesitate to ask again. And if I answer it twice, it's okay. you know um I I don't mind really, because it's an awkward format. It's not like live, right, where you're on one screen, I'm on the other screen, and we're able to talk to each other directly. It's like a little chat room. Hey Walter, good to see you. But yeah, there's no way for me to pause it, unfortunately. And then when I scroll up and I lock it at a certain point in the screen, as people continue to text, it moves. And then when I try to keep up, it jumps back to the last, it's 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 awkward. What would be kind of neat is really to go old school and have the chat section just print as I'm as it's going, right? Then I can just have this roll of paper like a ticker tape and just go through them one by one, right? um Also, I got an email from, I don't know if you're here, Lauren's always here, but uh, Lauren sent me an email. He was uh, thinking about, had some questions about Canon, like the M50 and the Canon RP, because he's got gas like me, I guess. Always looking at other camera systems, and he's wondering if I can get my hands on one, right? And I was like, yeah, I know somebody has a Canon RP, so I borrowed it. And oh my God, it's a monster of a camera. It's like this is the Canon RP with one of the kit lenses. I think this sells for $14.99, and this is a 24 to 240 full frame, right? And this thing, I mean, here's the equivalent Olympus, right? And I got a grip attached to it, so it's a little more fair. But it's there's just no. I don't want to drop his camera, right? This is my cousin's. There's just no comparison between the two here. Um, I think this lens weighs more than the entire Micro Four Thirds setup, and so I'm going to be comparing the EM5 Mark III, maybe the EM5 Mark II as well, against the 14 to 150 kit lens that comes with that camera, against the kit lens with the RP. And just looking at the specs alone, uh, the sensor side, the EM5 just destroys it, either the Mark II or the Mark III in terms of feature sets. But okay, so let's see. Mihai has a question. Hi, please can you help me and explain how I can see a viewfinder what I get, how to obtain WYSIWYG? Yes, it it'll depend on the settings in the live view boost mode. So let me see if I can bring that up. And I'm going to put a mark here, do my best to keep up with the questions. And I have this other, yeah, that was a fail. How about this one? Where is it? Yeah, here it is. This will work. So this is the, let me see, you go into the settings here. You want to go into the D menu. I think it's D menu regardless of camera model for display. And let's see, it's going to be on the M5 Mark III, it's called Live View Boost. And you go in here, and if you turn all of these off, you can't even turn this one off in bulb, but you turn all of these off like I have here, except for bulb time, and that will give you the WYSIWYG that you're looking for. In good light, as the light drops, like, let's say it's kind of, you got one light indoors at night, like a little table lamp, you're not going to get truly WYSIWYG. The Olympus cameras, for some reason, don't display true WYSIWYG in low light. Now, in very good light, generally, anytime during the day outdoors, like a couple hours after sunset, couple hours before sunset, you'll always get WYSIWYG. But the other settings, on 1 and on 2, oh, I need to come back. The other settings basically brighten the screen, and you won't see exactly what the final exposure will be. So that's how you do that. And even when you have good light and you have the live view boost turned off, you only have plus or minus 3 stops of exposure latitude in terms of what you're going to see is what you get. So if you dial in a -4 exposure compensation, it's going to show you -3 because it stops at -3. So you can watch my video on live I think it's called See in the Dark Live View Boost. I have a video called See in the Dark Live View Boost, and it explains all of those settings in detail, so you can learn how to use those and what the limitations are. Oh, Valdez is here. MFT FTW. I'm in small photography group where most others have cameras with larger sensors. I laugh when they compliment how low light and very detailed, crisp photos. Yeah. Yeah, the Canon apparently doesn't have as good a low light capability as Micro Four Thirds. This particular one, I'll have to test for that. Who knows? And you know, once you know what the limits of the camera are and the kind of results that you're going to get, you can work with it and you know, adjust your photography accordingly. You know, there's the one extreme where, like, I know Jimmy Chang said, uh, someone asked him, you know, what do you do, like, because he's a wedding shooter. What do you do and when you see a scene at the wedding that is very dark? Because you know the typical, you know, the ceremony and stuff. Normally there's good light, but when the events, the after stuff is going on, you know, it's a low light. Sorry, there was a loud crash outside my house here. Uh, he said he doesn't take that picture because it's too dark and he knows it's going to come out bad, and that's going to be true really for almost any camera. Uh, but he knows the limits of his camera, so he knows when and when not to take a picture. Whereas someone like me, you know, when I go out and do street photography at night, I don't not take a picture. The only time I not take a picture is when the shutter speed is so slow, I know it's going to be jacked up and I don't have my tripod with me. Um, okay, let's see. But yeah, this Canon RP is not a small and light camera. You know, you look at the body specs and they're only a little bit larger than, say, the M5 Mark III, and the weight's like 40 grams more. It's negligible. But then, yeah, when you put this honking lens on here, oh my god, I'm curious what this weighs. And I hate this strap implementation. Sorry, I'm just gonna weigh it real quick. I'm just curious. Oh, I need a hard surface. Well, all right, deal with it. 1,286 grams. Okay. And oh, you know what that crash was? My neighbor rolled out his the mower. I don't know if you heard it. The mower just started up. He has this one of these big riding mowers with the handles in the front, and it, you know, it swings 360. And he's so nice. He cuts my front lawn whenever he gets that thing out because he just loves riding that thing. So half the summer I've only had to cut my backyard. All right, the EM5 Mark III with the extra grip, which I know is 100 grams, and the same standard kit lens is 800 grams, 817 grams. So really, if I take the grip off that I added onto it, it'd be 717 grams. So, you know, 60%, 70% less weight. Anyhow, just a quick first part of my test here. Let's see. What is FTW? MFT FTW, Valdez? I don't know what FTW means. You know, I get anything that starts with FT confused with FTL because I watch a lot of sci-fi. So whenever they talk about FTL, it's faster than light, right? So they're talking about the FTL drives, right? FTW, I don't know what that means. Ah, good morning, Hans. And you know, earlier I saw John Softly here. I know it's like 1 in the morning over there or something, right? Or almost. So I appreciate you coming in this late. But I did email, he emailed me, but I'm thinking about doing maybe one more stream, maybe not every week, but every other week at like on a Tuesday at 6 p.m., which would be like 8 a.m. in Sydney, Australia. And that'll capture a lot of, a lot of people, because the 2 time slots I have now for my live streams do not fit that time zone. So the viewership from there is very light. I think John's the only one probably right now. Is anyone else watching me after midnight? I'm just curious. I'm really flattered by that if you are. But it's either after midnight or too early in the morning, the 2 time slots I have now to fit that particular time zone. So if I do one around, I could do it at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m., right? I rarely get up that early. But I'm thinking 6 p.m. I could do. I could do 6 a.m. and then that'll keep my day free. But then I have to go back to bed at like 8 o'clock. But if I do it at 6 p.m., then my sleep schedule can be very flexible, right? I can go to bed early, go to bed late, whatever. All right, let's see. Plato's here. Peter's here. Catching up here. Are you going to take Robin 75? I have no idea what challenge you're talking about, John. 75 F18 challenge. I'll have to look into that. I didn't. What does he want to do? Just go out and street shoot with a 75 millimeter? That would be. I mean, Leon's been asking me to do that forever. But the streets around here are not terribly safe lately. You know? I don't know if having a camera will protect me somewhat, because then I look like a journalist, right? Piotr, how are you? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Piotr. Hello everybody, Peter from... Oh, so how about Peter, right? Peter from Polska here. I'm having a 14 to 42 easy pancake serviced. Could not immediately find a good offer and used one, so decided to go that way. Oh, okay, that's right. We talked about that the other day. $70 is fair. Hopefully the fix will stay, right? Because it's really a great lens otherwise, right? Because it's very compact. When I used to use that on my Pen F, you could coat pocket it, and then when it's just sitting there, it's just compact, right? Nothing. I really like that lens. It's too worrisome for me to worry about, so I replaced it with a I use now the 12 to 32 pancake lens from Panasonic. I found is a little sharper than the Olympus version. Oh, okay. Peter has a Sigma 56 1.4. Yeah, the images I've seen from that are pretty amazing. Not a lens I need because I have a 75 f1.8. But maybe one day. Right now I'm saving up for a laptop. Oh, for the win. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Valdez. I'm so far behind here. I see $10 here from somebody. I haven't gotten that far down the list yet, but thank you. Walter Palmer says 45 f1.8 does not obey the reset lens setting to infinity when turned off and on. Is there a firmware update for this lens? No, there's not. Not that I'm aware of. Roberto, hi. Jeff is here. Hi from Melbourne. And Fancy Bunny says, can you specifically change the frames per second on the OMD Mark II for all the Ollie options low, medium, high? Think a second. Which OMD is it? Is it the EM1 Mark II or the EM10 Mark II? I know on the EM1 Mark II you can change it. On the EM10, let me look at the EM10 Mark II. or the EM5 Mark II. Let's see. If you go into exposure, ISO, I'm in movie mode, hold on. Oh, release menu C. Yeah, if you go into menu C on the EM10 Mark II and on the which screen did I use? This one? This one. This one here. This is the M5 Mark III, but it'd be same on the M1 Mark II and 3. You go into the C menu and you go into L settings, so you can change it here, like so, right? And for the different shutter modes. So yeah, it's adjustable on the EM10 Mark II, EM5 Mark II, EM1 Mark II, all of the Mark IIs and Mark IIIs, no problem. Oh, you're from Sydney, watching after midnight. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking closer to. I mean, if I do 6 p.m., then it's like 8 a.m. in Sydney. People are going to work. Who's gonna watch, right? Peters. Oh, yeah, that's a good deal, right, Val? Is $70 to fix. Marsha, how are you? Marsha from Florida. I think that's the same Marsha. Says, I'm having trouble manual focusing at night. Magnifying is on. I turn the focus wheel. I don't see anything. Then all of a sudden I see an image, but it goes off. So I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, you need to turn off the sleep mode on your monitor. And if you have any kind of live view boost on, which a lot of times at night you do, you have to focus very slowly because the refresh rate's very slowly in the live view. But oh, I forgot to put myself back in here. You've been looking at a blank screen for a couple of minutes. You go into the display menu, and this will be D menu, I think, on all of the cameras. Wait, it may not, it may be in the screen. No, it's not in this one. It's gotta be in the hardware menu. No, in the junk menu here. Yeah, well, utility menu. Because I have HDMI plugged in, they're kind of grayed out now. But you need to change all of these to off. Sleep mode, auto power off, quick sleep mode. Just turn all of those off. And your screen should stay on at that point while you're focusing. Of course, it drains your battery, right? Oh, I gotta figure out how to go back here. It drains your battery, but you know, bring extra batteries, you'll be all right. Oh, Mike Ham, thank you so much, Mike. I saw it pop up on one screen, but I couldn't read it because it was so tiny. But thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. On Thursdays is often after midnight, and the edit part is over. Yeah, your 6 p.m. show will not get many viewers from Europe. No, yeah, I'd be ruling out everybody from the UK, right? So I have to, you know, I start as early as I can on Thursday. It messes up my whole day though, right? Because if I have to stream at 3 o'clock, I really can't go anywhere. I don't wake up till usually 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then but I'm not doing anything, so what difference, right? But I'm thinking 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. as a third one, not every week, but every other week maybe. Midnight okay in Australia is Sunday and 5 a.m. on Thursday. Yeah, it's rough, Roberto. I know. Oh yeah, Valdez. I forgot about the auto open lens cap for the easy lens. That is a cool little addition, accessory. Peter says, yes, I figured it was a fair offer, yes. And said the replacement ribbon was more flexible than the original. Oh, okay, so it was the ribbon, right? I mean, I never read about the ribbon directly from anywhere that I recall. Maybe I did, but I thought about it and I said, there's a lot of ribbon cables inside that can come loose. 'Cause I used to take lenses apart and try to put them back together. I mean, they were already broken. So I saw all these fine ribbon cables, and one of the problems I had was with the ribbon cables, right? And I could see like a lens coming in and out all the time. That it could work itself loose. I actually destroyed my 17 to 50 Sigma lens I had for my Nikon because I took it apart. It was working, but the zoom was really stiff. So I wanted to take it apart and see if I could figure out what was binding in zoom, because it's just a plastic lens, right? And when I got it back together, the autofocus didn't work. It was all jumpy, you know. And it was because I think I messed up the contacts on the ribbon cable. So I figured, the ribbon cable in the EZ lens is probably the problem. They should just make me a technician, right? To diagnose things. Let's see. I am thinking, let's see. robtrek from Peter. I am thinking of keeping my EPL8 and buy a second-hand Lumix 12 to 32. Yeah, it's an awesome combo. Awesome combo. That extra 12 millimeter wideness is great. For people that have the EPL8, that camera is, but I'll show you here. This is my Pen PL8 with the 14 to 42 normal zoom range, normal zoom lens kit, right? So when you're actually using it, this is the size. And then here's with the my body cap. Anyway, I did a photo job yesterday and I forgot to clean the front of the lens. There's a big old fingerprint on it. I had to use a little dehaze to so professional, right? Anyhow, yeah, look at the difference here. How small that is compared to, say, the easy kit lens. Oh, let me extend it. It's not really fair. But even extended, right? And I have it. I'm trying to mount it kind of the same. Once extended, it's quite a bit of difference still. Every millimeter counts, right? When you're trying to go compact. So yeah, I love this camera. I really do. This was my main go. Why do I got black tape down here? This was my main go-to camera forever. Just gross. All right. Yeah, there's nothing wrong there. But I've dropped this so many times, my screen doesn't lay flat anymore. But it still works. This is the best vlogging camera ever because you can get the mic attachment for it. Plug in a regular, quarter, 3/4, whatever size mic jack in. So yeah, Peter, definitely, I highly recommend this lens. It's sharper than this lens. And I don't say that often, right? Usually I say, yeah, it's a tiny bit sharper, maybe if you pixel peep. But when I use this lens, it's visibly sharper without pixel peeping. And then when you do pixel peep, because I shot both these lenses with the high-res shot mode on one of my cameras, and this definitely had more resolving power with the 80 megapixel raw image than this lens did. Because I really stressed the lenses, right, to see which one is sharper. And I would dare say this was as sharp as the 12 to 40 Pro. Now I can't talk about corner to corner sharpness and things. I didn't look for that so much. Uh, but you know, anywhere towards the middle of the frame, which is where I was focused on, it's definitely sharp. No problem. To do really corner to corner edge sharpness, you need a very flat target with lots of lines. You need a test chart, right? I was just taking pictures on my table and testing, and it was definitely sharper. So yeah, I can't recommend that Panasonic lens enough. And it works well in video if you have one of the phase detect Olympus cameras. I'd say it works better than it does on even on Panasonic cameras. Okay, so Peter, yes, definitely go for the 12 to 32. And I see a couple more super chats. Wow, thank you so much. uh oh, Robin is here. Awesome, man. You haven't been in the chat section in a while. I mean, you probably watch, right? Like everyone watches. They don't admit it. They're kind of closet robtrek watchers. But yeah, that's awesome. And that's such a I was telling everyone early on, it's such a relief that you're able to continue the live streams, or I'm sorry, the your channel. Thank goodness, because I told everyone you're such an invaluable asset to the community that it would have been a shame. So I'm really glad you're here, and more so that you can continue doing your channel. Oh, let's see. And if I'll turn on my Skype. If you want to call in and just join in, I can throw you in. Let me turn my Skype on. Fancy Bunny, thank you so much. It says here, you're a rare gem that I also happen to find. I bought an Olympus camera without knowing. Oh, okay, great. I'm glad to help. And thank you, Marcia. You're awesome. I wish I was in Florida though. We can go do photo walks and things, right? I just when I'm the oldest one in my family, I'm most likely gonna move down south. Not sure exactly. Maybe Tennessee, North Carolina area, or maybe all the way to Florida. But Florida has too many hurricanes. Like Tennessee is pretty stable weather-wise. As long as I don't move into a mobile home, because they're like, some reason, nature hates mobile homes. So she's always sending tornadoes out to destroy them. Can you imagine me living in a trailer park? I could do trailer park life. Why not, right? Oh, yeah, the 75 millimeter shootout. I don't know what that is, Robin. I guess you put a video or post it in the Micro Four Third forum on Facebook, the one that we use, and let me know what that challenge is if you don't have a video on it. I watched a little bit of your video this morning, but I was running late for my live stream already, so I couldn't watch the whole thing. I just wanted to catch the part where you said that the government backtracked and that you confirmed it, so that was good. Rob, do you still use the GX85? If so, what's your long-term opinion? I don't really use it much, but I'll give you my opinion on it. Um, it's an excellent camera, very well built, has a terrific menu system. The images from it are excellent, on par with any Micro Four Thirds camera. Okay, the only weaknesses of that camera is really the low light autofocusing is not quite as good as the Olympus cameras. That I know. It's not a big deal. It has to be really low light, Like when I go out night shooting, street shooting at night, it definitely struggles a little more so than my Olympus cameras. And I'm not talking about like my fancy pants ones. I'm talking about like my EM10 Mark II, my Pen F versus the GX85. Definitely didn't focus as well at night. But you know, 99% of the time we're not focusing at night, right? So it's fine. Uh, what's the other thing? The IBIS seems pretty equivalent to Olympus, you know, for photography. For video, not quite as good. And you just, and you know, the viewfinder, right? The EVF, some people have problems with it. So if you're thinking about that camera, try that part first. Some people buy it and return it only for that one issue. Because if you're a little bit off center when you're looking through the view EVF, it starts to tear a little bit. You get like a double image or something. So it's a little bit that's the other weak part. It's not quite as good as an OLED display like we have in a lot of our Olympus cameras. And I personally don't have a problem with it. It's fine. But I'm used to bad vision anyway because you know I'm very farsighted. So but overall, I would not hesitate for the price. It's like $4.99 with two lenses all day long. For the price, it's probably the best value entry-level camera on the market, more often than not. Sometimes the M10 Mark II gets down to that price with two lenses, but not as often as the GX85. The GX85 has been at that price, seems like all the time. Whereas the M10 Mark II, it seems like half as much, right? It's on sale at that price point. So if you don't mind the rangefinder style, GX85 is a terrific value, and you get that 12 to 32 kit lens with it. This lens is worth the price of admission alone. Uh, I highly recommend the GX85 with that lens. I lost my place again. And Rob, do you still? Oh, sorry, that's where I was. Peter says, and it's spelled Piotr. So that's who I'm talking to. I think I am too old to even attempt any sort of repair involving precise. Yeah, I almost destroyed my Navi device while fixing the battery connector. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've broken so many things trying to fix them that they were broke more than they were before I tried to fix it. Uh, yeah, Peter Cardo, I got uh my GX85 used for like 200 bucks with the 12 to 32 lens. Because the lens by itself is like 130, right? So I got the camera for like 80 bucks more. Amazing deal. Or 225, something like I got it for next to nothing. And I bought it mainly for that lens. Let's see. Fyodor Swatch Kias. God, that's a tongue twister for me. Question: there are quantitative method to assess the sharpness. How can it be measured? Some sort of special pattern, perhaps. Test chart, you say, makes sense. Yeah, test chart is good for corner to corner type testing, right? And you need to have it completely flat, and you need to have the sensor parallel. I mean, it's you know, you need a lot of precision if you're doing corner to corner sharpness type tests. But the way I test lenses for sharpness is I shoot in high res shot mode to really get as many megapixels as I can, and then I pixel peep on the focus point that I focused on. Um, I suppose I could test, if I focus on something in the corner and check, but it's not as good as using a test chart. But for just general sharpness, in the majority of the lens, you can just focus on a point in high-res shot mode. If you don't have high-res shot mode, then you can use your regular 16 or 20 megapixel image. But that may not reveal the differences between the lenses as much as a high-res shot mode. And that's that's where I saw the biggest difference, was in high-res shot mode. John Leach, hello. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, I try. And Plato says watching Rob's live streams is a guilty pleasure. Oh, like loving ABBA songs. I do love ABBA. I haven't played them in a long time, but I have a DVD of their concert. Or it's not really a concert, it was kind of a show. ABBA Gold. I love ABBA. Good morning from sunny California. No hurricanes. But you guys, oh, Lauren, how are you? Yeah, I got your email. I don't know if you heard earlier, but I got your email, and yesterday I went out and I got the RP. No, I didn't buy it. I just borrowed it from my cousin. But I don't know. You know, I'll put up a post in my community tab where if you guys want me to test certain things on this camera versus Olympus, you can ask those questions in the community tab. Don't ask them here because I'm not going to be able to keep track of it. But I'll put something in the community tab or my forum and my forum at the same time. There's no safe place anymore. The weather is bizarre. Yes. I agree, Marcia. And Peter says, check out DxO Marks' website. That there's always been arguments about how valid their tests are and stuff, but it's the one thing I can say about their tests, they've always seemed to be in line with what I found in my personal shooting. And the other thing is that the main thing about testing is consistency and methodology, regardless of what the results are, right? Long as your methodology is consistent, you can compare lenses against each other. And then the final result you can debate, saying, well, they might say this lens is not sharp as this lens. Well, that's if their methodology is consistent, yes, that's going to be a fact. But they might say that, well, they might say like this lens only resolves 8 megapixels on a 24 megapixel sensor. You can argue that with them all day long. But when they say one lens is sharper than the other, I think that's going to be hard to dispute because their methodology is very consistent. And you can read about the methodology that they use because they go into some detail, not enough detail for you to really rule out any anomalies or things that you might think would apply to their testing methodology or potential problems with their testing methodology. They don't reveal that much where you can poke holes in their testing methodology, but they tell you enough about how they do it. And like I said, the main thing is consistency and precision is more important than the actual method itself. When looking for hold on. Lauren says, I think anything past 45 millimeters is better served with a zoom for more control of the scene. 75 is tight unless. Yeah, I have a hard time with the 75. And Robin Wong, John Leach says, your term shutter therapy has been adopted here in the UK. It's so fitting. I know that is an awesome shutter therapy is the best term ever, right? You should just rename your channel Shutter Therapy. Just forget about Robin Wong. You probably, I don't know. That seems silly too. Like Robin Wong is kind of a almost a brand in of itself, right? It's like if somebody says, well, Robin Wong said, then it has a certain amount of credibility, right? Versus, well, the guy over at Shutter Therapy, and they're like, Shutter Therapy, what is he? You know what I mean? But then again, I don't know. There's got to be a way you can use that. You should just sell T-shirts. Just sell T-shirts that say Shutter Therapy, and you'll sell a bunch. Trust me. I've been selling T-shirts for 6 months on my channel. I haven't sold one T-shirt. I couldn't even give one away because where they lived, I couldn't ship it to. I was trying to give one away. I can't even give those T-shirts away. Nobody likes my T-shirt. Soup is not food. Let's see. Lumix, the GX85 for only $275 on KEH. Yes, if that includes the lens, super deal. If that does not include the lens, you're probably better off buying brand new with two lenses for $499. Lauren says the GX85 is a little less able in low light, but is a solid camera made in China like the Zebra. Oh yeah, it has zebras too. That's true. But he's kind of confirming what I said about the low light. It's a little bit weak. I mean and when I say a little, I mean very, very little. There's very little difference, right? Really splitting hairs when the GX85 can't focus compared to say an Olympus camera. It's not, most people are not going to notice it. And Dave Nelson says, if robtrek were to use every camera he has, he would only be able to use each one for 15 minutes, and then he'd have to, yeah, it's so true. So many cameras. My problem is I'm dying to go out and shoot. I might go out today. I might have to go back out to the job I shot yesterday and redo some of the images. This is the first time, well, not the first, maybe the second time, I've ever had a complaint about the images on my, and it wasn't about the images themselves so much. Um, it was about the images that I didn't take. It's like, oh, you didn't get a picture of the light fixtures over here. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't really notice them. Was something special about them? This is, you know, yeah, look at that. So I looked at some pictures and I'm like, yeah, those are nice light fixtures, but sorry, I didn't. It just didn't occur to me. I take so many pictures of houses and properties that I'm a little jaded by anything that might stand out that's particularly special about a property when they don't specifically ask me to take a picture of it. Um, I just say, okay, here's a bathroom, and they're like, well, I put new hardware and the sink faucet is really nice and the light fixtures are really nice, and I'm like, yeah, it was clean, but I didn't I didn't know you wanted me to get specifically pictures of the upgraded handles or whatever it was. Um, so I feel a little bad because you would think I should notice things like that, right? But like I said, I'm just so jaded by it that unless they ask me to specifically take a picture of something, I'm gonna take a picture of that room and not specifically, unless it's like some gorgeous chandelier or something, I'm gonna take a picture of that room and not really focus on the little fine details. It wasn't a high-end property, it was just a little townhouse. Anyhow, and and they didn't think my they didn't, on a couple of the shots, he didn't think that the shots were wide enough. Like, uh, in the bathroom, I was only able to get 2/3 of the bathtub in this shot together with this sink and commode, right? And it's like, why didn't you get the whole bathtub in the shot? And I'm like, well, I was using a fisheye lens, and it's a very small bathroom. I said, I can't get the entire thing in unless you want to get a fisheye shot. Then maybe I might be able to fit it in, but then everything's going to look distorted. I mean, I might try again. Maybe, because the fisheye has a 180-degree field of view, it's very hard to get three walls in a tight space. To see all three walls in a tight space, because you're standing on one wall. It's very hard to get three walls in a tight space, even with a 180-degree field of view. And if you do get it, it's going to be distorted and fisheye-like. So, but it's a challenge for me, right? Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing. Maybe there's a way to do it and do it well without distortion. Because I don't want to claim I'm any expert in photography. I mean, I'm fairly competent, but I don't know everything, right? So maybe maybe I missed something, right? Yeah, Peter says he's just tuned in and I'm taking social distancing a bit far out of this world. I know, right? This is the safest place, right? Is in space. Oh my goodness, I'm catching up here. ABBA sounds great and looks great. I love ABBA. Dancing Queen, Fernando, I love Fernando. Dancing Queen makes me cry. It's a very emotional song. John Leach asks, are you aware of any issues with Olympus Workspace on Windows 7? It's fine on my Windows 10, but occasionally stalls on Windows 7. No, I'm not aware of anything other than if your Windows 7 is on an older machine, yeah, it's going to struggle regardless of the operating system. And I'm talking like, if it's not like a Core i7 8th gen or better, if it's running on an old, 4th gen, 5th gen Core i5, Core i7 mobile processor, it's going to struggle. And most desktops that are more than 5 years old, regardless operating system. Um, yeah, Lauren says the RP is sort of interesting, so a test would be cool. I hear less dynamic range in landscapes than an APS-C, however, according to DxO Mark. Yeah, I can test for dynamic range. That was one of the tests I'm gonna do because that's what I saw. I caught a couple of clips last night of some video, the reviews like DP Review and Fro and one other dude who I never heard of because I don't follow Canon. Dynamic range was definitely a recurring theme. Good evening, Barana from Bangkok. Awesome. And Valdez says, my new fave lens is the Ollie 14-150, especially for walking around. Does a good close focus and is weather sealed in about 350. Yes. This is a great lens. This is the, sorry for the lawnmower. My house is just so noisy. You wouldn't believe the ambient noise. Never mind all my neighbors cut their grass every time I try to do a video. But yeah, this 14-150 this is a terrific lens. I highly recommend it over the 12-200. If not for the image quality, for the size and weight. And the difference in field of view on the wide and long end is minuscule. But I think the 12-200 weighs twice as much. The first time this guy mowed the lawn and I was doing a video, I was really upset because there was this constant roar of the lawnmower. And then when I went out, right, I would never say anything to anybody about cutting their own grass, right? I don't really care. It's just as a creator trying to make videos, yeah, it's it's very disrupting, right? And I went out and the guy cut my lawn, the front yard. So I never say anything to him about him cutting his grass or anything, especially now when he's cutting my grass too. Rob, currently I have an EM1 Mark II. Keith Penn says, Rob, I currently have an EM1 Mark II. Considering upgrading to the Mark III so that I can shoot at lower ISO 64. I'm a former D810 shooter, so I missed the lower ISO. Any thoughts? Uh, I would say unless uh unless you need specific features, the other features in the camera other than the lower ISO setting, like the high handheld high res shot mode, the live ND, the better image stabilization, um, there's and you know, the ability to charge the camera through the USB port. And there's probably some other things I'm not remembering now. There's very specific features that you can get in the M1 Mark III that are not in the M1 Mark II. I wouldn't get that camera just for the low ISO 64. If you want all the other things, I would get it. But I wouldn't get it just for the low ISO. It would be much cheaper to buy a quality ND filter, right? Than buying a whole other camera just for that one extra stop that you get. You could buy a one stop or just put a polarizer on. If you don't want to do a polarizer, you know, because a polarizer will give you 1 to 2 stops right there, right? But a high quality ND filter, you know, spend $100, get, you know, one of those Hoyas or something, right? Then that, I think that would be money better spent than buying a whole nother camera. What do you think of the Panasonic G9? I'm in two minds: OMD EM1 Mark II or the G9. I'm not as familiar with the G9, but the G9 is definitely a bigger camera. So if portability is a little bit higher priority, I'd get the M1. And the M1 also has the phase detect autofocus. I think it has better low light autofocusing than the G9, but I can't say that as a fact. You'll have to. So what I would do is ask somebody who's competent in the G9 if they've ever compared the low light and autofocusing modes in general with the M1 Mark II. Because I'm pretty sure the M1 Mark II with the phase detect is going to be superior across the board. The EM1 Mark II has slightly better image stabilization as well. Now, if video is kind of your thing, definitely G9. You know, the top plate LCD on the G9 is really awesome. You know, if you're into that, I really like a top plate LCD, which I that's the only thing I really miss on the Olympus. You know, since I started using Olympus, is that top plate LCD. Um, and I believe people have said the EM1 Mark II weather sealing is better than on the G9. I don't think that's a subjective thing either. I think the M1 Mark II is objectively a better weather sealed camera. And that's about it. So I'd say whatever where your priorities need to be is because in terms of shooting, I think you're not going to see much difference in image quality and general shooting. So just go with the camera that you feels better in your hands. But for very specific things, like I was talking about for video or autofocus, you know, very specific things that you want to have better capability, then the M1 Mark II is better in photography than the G9. Just my opinion. So, but definitely look at. I think the only thing I'm not confident in saying there's in comparing the two is in the autofocus systems. I can only assume the M1 Mark II is better based on the autofocusing system. And nature with Lauren says the G9 is sounds like a great camera, but for a twitchy light shutter button, I'm not sure I like that, and it's made in China. Okay. Nature with Music says try using the Ollie 300 Pro with a 1.4x teleconverter to actually find the butterfly to shoot. Yeah, the 300 Pro is definitely my fantasy lens. It's not even wish list lens. Like wish list, like I said before, kind of implies you're gonna buy one eventually. It's getting towards the wish list lens, but right now it's a fantasy lens. Like it doesn't exist in my world. It's just one of these lenses that maybe, you know, if it was possible, it would exist. So that's where I'm at with it right now. Robin Wong says Shutter Therapy is a good name, but for now I shall stay with my name. Too much hassle to make sense. Yeah, agreed. I must be way behind because we talked about that like 10 minutes ago. Peter says Peter Switekieswiz. I'm gonna get this right one time. Is it true that Olympus camera department is now Chinese, as so many other companies? It is. It is. That is a false statement. The camera department is, technically going to be sold to another Japanese company, but the manufacturing plants and everything are in Vietnam right now. So unless something changes, you know, it's just all rumors. Don't worry about it. Where are my t-shirts? Oh, usually they're in links below the stream or the video. You'll see, just before the comment section. It looks like an ad. I would hesitate to buy my t-shirts too. I mean, they're kind of cool, right? You can buy a t-shirt that I designed. Not that I'm a designer, but it's like $20 for a t-shirt because there's so many layers there of middlemen, right? You have me, I got to get a piece. Then you have the t-shirt company's got to get a piece. Then you have YouTube needs to get a piece. And God knows who else, the shipping company needs to get a piece, and then the government, needs to get their share. So by the time you add everybody's, you know, uh, thing into it, it's like $20 for a freaking t-shirt. So, I'm not surprised nobody's bought one because, and that's for like a low end t-shirt. Like the mid-grade t-shirts are like $25 and sweatshirts are like $40. And, we're kind of getting into, designer brand name, freaking clothing prices, right? Like I've never paid like $40 for a shirt, not in the last 20 years, let alone a t-shirt. So I'm not saying don't buy one. If you want one, get one. But I can understand why a lot of people haven't. No one has bought one up to this point. There's just so many hands in the pot that the price is just really high. I think even if I was gonna give one away, it would still cost me $15 because I think I make like $5 on a T-shirt. So it's like, and I couldn't even give them away at one time. Uh, Peter says, at robtrek, just for reference, Piotr's Polish spelling of Peter. Okay, so thank you. So Peter is perfect. That makes sense. So I'll say Peter from Poland. Well, you didn't say Poland. You said you were from somewhere else, maybe a city in Poland. Hill photo. Today I tried to update the firmware for my EM1 Mark III. Cannot connect to the service. Then I try my Mac Pro. It says I can't connect to the camera. Ooh, I've heard people having trouble connecting to the service. The only thing I can tell you is make sure you disable any kind of ad blocking software, any firewalls you have set up, and any antivirus software you have running when you're trying to update your camera, because a lot of times those things will block connection to certain sites. The other thing I've heard is certain countries block internet access to certain other IPS addresses. So that might be the case. So there's that, and make sure you're not using a virtual private network like a VPN. And then the last thing I would say is try, if all else fails, try to connect your computer directly through the Ethernet cable instead of doing wireless. Like I use wireless for everything, but some people have said that worked. So there's a few things you can try to get it to work. I can't speak to what's going on with the Mac, other than the same software type issues where disabling the antivirus, disabling ad blockers, disabling firewalls, disabling, any kind of other protection things that you have. and turn them back on right away after you're done. But I would say try those things. Uh, Photography by Sturkis says do both shutter therapy with Robin Wong. Um, Maybe. And John Lee says, I actually like your t-shirts at Robin Wong, so many colors. Oh, that's right. Robin always wears a t-shirt, right? And thank goodness, well, let me rephrase that. You know, Peter Forsgaard, he he always wore his sweatshirt, right? F1.2. I don't know if those are his or not. Those are kind of cool. Um, but he's been wearing like collared shirts lately, like I do. I don't know. I used to wear t-shirts a lot in my early 20s. And then I went to go golf and I didn't have a collared t-shirt on. So I had to buy one at the gift shop. So let's just say lesson learned, because you know what golf gift shop prices are, right? They're like tourist prices. You pay a frickin' fortune. You know, I could have paid green fees for anyway. So now, unless I'm going to bed, I always wear a collared shirt. Uh, Everywhere I go, regardless. You know, if I'm just going to McDonald's, collared shirt. Oh, it's 11:15. So I'll be starting my, let me just make a quick announcement. I'll be starting my photo editing live stream where you can submit pictures or you can download mine and edit mine. Links are below this stream, but also it's going to be a totally separate stream from this one. So I'm going to have to wrap up here. So let me catch up. It says here, at robtrek, stand outside and photograph through the bathroom window. There's no bathroom window. It's a townhouse, so everything is wall to wall there. There's no windows in the bathrooms. Sawtooth Fun. Am I thinking about doing 360 for real estate? Yes, I am thinking about it. I did a test run yesterday actually with my thingamajiggy here. I bought this. I bought this camera, the Insta360R. It's terrible. It's awesome for 360 video, 360 photo. It's I can't deliver images like that. And I tried doing the HDR 9-shot, uh, images out of this, like the best quality I could, DNG raw file, and it wasn't so much the dynamic range, and because the dynamic range was good enough for a 360. I mean, I'm not trying to do high-end clients, but there was still a lot of noise and softness. There was a very distinct lack of sharpness, and hold on. Oh, I have to call her back. Not my mom, it's a friend of mine. Um. So yeah, yeah, the image quality was not there with this to get paid work. So I'm gonna work with it some more and see if there's something I'm doing wrong, because even outdoors and in a bright day, the images were still soft. And I have on order, not on order, but I have on the my notify me list when the Ricoh version, right? The Theta 1, whatever, the 1-inch sensor version. It's $1,000 360 camera, but that's something I think I can use professionally and deliver decent images, but this thing is not cutting it. I'm gonna try again, but yeah. And open Lightroom, and a picture had a small portrait size strip in the middle. Like someone had cut out a piece of the photo and replaced it with a colored section. One photo. Any thoughts? The only thing I can say is maybe try refreshing the image preview or regenerate. What do they call it? It's not smart preview, but you can rebuild the preview of the thumbnail and see if that makes a difference. But if you punch in on a raw image or JPEG, it doesn't matter. But if you pull it up and punch in on it and it renders and it's still there, sometimes it's a corrupt image, right? Something happened when it was being written. I don't think it's Lightroom. So look at the file on your camera. If the camera is still clean in camera, try downloading it again and see if it clears up. And try using different software and looking at it and see if other software pulls it up correctly. Because a lot of times Lightroom will use the JPEG image to show you a preview, but then when you actually start to edit it, it'll render the raw image. Oh, John says a high-spec PC, 12 core. Wow. You must have a good reason for not using Windows 7 on a 12 core PC. Because I understand there's some people do that for very specific reasons. So in that case, yeah, it sounds like Windows 7 might be glitchy with Workspace. Plato says robtrek Canon were never known for having good dynamic range. That, yes, I've heard that. Oh, John is correction, 8-core PC, but still, if it's a true 8-core, not like 4-core, 8 threads, then yeah, that's not the problem. Nature is music. At robtrek, can you explain why the depth of field is less when I use my 300 millimeter with a 1.4 teleconverter relatively close to the subject I am shooting? Because the 300 millimeter f4, when you put a 1.4x teleconverter, that's one stop, right? So it becomes, it doesn't become it becomes an f5.6 at 300 millimeters. So yeah, basically it's you're shooting with a depth of field of f5.6, 300 millimeter. And Lauren's, isn't Olympus' future now rather uncertain? Buying an expensive one now is something I would really think hard about before proceeding. Yeah, that's I suppose if you're, I mean, my thoughts on this are the only people that really need to be concerned about it are, professional photographers that need to service their cameras and also want to be able to use the same system years from now and have a reliable upgrade path. But I'd argue that's hard to find, I think, with any camera company right now. You can't predict the future. So, I think for most people, you buy the camera you like the best now. And if it happens to be Olympus, don't worry that you can't buy another one and upgrade later, personally. Because there's such a great selection now. If you're an early adopter like the EOS RP, Canon can drop that mount and say, you know what? We're not going to make any more lenses for it. Or, you know what I mean? All I'm saying is you can't predict the future of any camera system. I don't think we're just not living in that world anymore like 20, 30 years ago when you could invest in Nikon F mount. Canon changed their mount like 3 or 4 times, so unlike Nikon, they stayed with the F mount for like 50 years. And Micro Four Thirds, they're 10 plus years now, right? So there's a huge selection of lenses for the foreseeable future that you'll be able to get. I don't worry about the longevity of a camera company when I make a purchase. I look at what I need now, what I'll need in the foreseeable future is available. Because right now, the foreseeable future, I don't have enough. There's not enough lenses on the Canon RF mount for me to buy an RF body. You know, because I don't know what lenses are going to come out and what price they're going to be. My God, a 50 millimeter lens was like $3,000 or something. I was like, it was an f1.2 50 millimeter. I was like, come on, $3,000. Uh, the 35 millimeter f1.8 was 500. That was reasonable. But anyway, yeah, I don't think, Lauren, people should really worry about it, especially because we already have a good selection that we can choose from now and the foreseeable future. But extra long term, yeah, maybe. In terms of service and getting work done on your camera, that could be an issue. We won't know until we know. All right, I'm just gonna see what other questions. Gosh, I'm so far behind, but I need to start my other stream in a few minutes. George says, robtrek, there is a YouTube of film crew filming with a Canon EOS R5 with a leaf blower. Okay. And Barana says, what is the difference between Olympus M1 and OM2? I believe the Olympus OM1 is a fully mechanical camera. The OM2N, oh, I'm so rusty on the difference between. I have them both, but I'm a little bit rusty between the two. That's I'm not going to be able to give you a confident answer. The OM2N, I believe, is also fully mechanical, but has aperture priority ability in it, with in combination with the light meter. I think that's the main difference between the two. Is one you can use aperture priority, the other one you cannot. It's full manual. It has a light meter, but it doesn't adjust the shutter speed for you. But yeah, you'll have to verify that. But I'm pretty sure that's the main difference between the two. Let's see. Peter says, robtrek, great. Thanks for explaining that Chinese Olympic. Yeah, it's a rumor. robtrek is a butcher brand. Okay. Another vocabulary I need to learn. And robtrek, okay, maybe I won't get another shirt and just keep sending. Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, don't. I'm not saying don't buy a t-shirt. If you like it, get it. But, that's what I say about everything, right? Always just, if you have the money and you like something, just get it, you know? Doesn't matter what it is or what the price is. If I could afford it, I'd get a Ferrari, but uh I drive a Mazda, I want to get a Mazda Miata though. But it's so small. I'm not sure I could live with it long term. And it'd have to be like my only car. Uh Update using workspace, not Olympus UDater. Oh, okay. Yes, yes. Yes, use Olympus Workspace, not the Olympus Update software. Because they have two softwares. They used to make them separate, but now it's integrated into Olympus Workspace to update your camera. Thank you. That I didn't even think of that, but that's true. Using EM5 Mark II to digitize negatives with a Minolta Roker X macro lens and Minolta focus reel. Wow. And negative copier, is there advantage to using high-res mode in EM5 Mark II? I don't think there would be with film. You can try it and see. But I think 20 megapixels is more than enough, or I'm sorry, 16 megapixels is more than enough to scan or take a picture of a negative, to be honest. I don't think there's any advantage to that. The only advantage you would get is maybe less noise. So when you use high-res shot mode at ISO 200, you're effectively stacking images together for less noise in the final digital image. And in theory, you would get more detail. So I would give it a shot and see if the images look less noisy. But I don't think in terms of resolution you'll see any difference in real life, because ultimately you're going to print a negative, and I don't think you'll see any difference. Would you use, Jose is asking, would you use a 4/3 lenses? Probably not. I just don't like the idea of adapting lenses in general. Uh, though I've seen some very, very sharp 4/3 lenses from one of the, during that live stream edits. Um, but they're just hard to come by. And there's usually a micro 4/3 equivalent, so I just buy the micro 4/3 version. Okay. Optimus says, has robtrek, my office have just ordered a Theta Z1. That's the one, Theta Z1. Thank you. I couldn't think of the name of it. Can take raw images and edit in Lightroom. Looking for trying out soon. Walter says, maybe a corrupt image. Oh, okay, that's, yeah. The Mark II says, hi, Uncle Rob. I'm adapting a 60mm f2.8 Nikkor Macro EPL7 and Viltrek Speed Booster. Sharpness is pretty subpar. Is it because of the adapter? Yes. Get rid of the adapter. Use a dumb one. Uh, just woke up here. Oh, hey Randy. Yeah, I gotta start my live stream edit. I want to get to the end of the questions here. On the M10 Mark III, can't set the histogram for highlights and shadows. I hope they'll fix that in the next firmware. Oh, okay, Neo. I'm not sure. I don't have any M10 Mark III, so I can't speak to that one. Uh, okay, I have to start my next live stream. I couldn't even get to the end of the comments here. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go. Thanks everybody for coming in today. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the super chats. I'm going over to my live editing live stream. So for a third of you, we'll see you over there. Oh, thank you, Papa. Thank you so much. Um, I'll maybe start these live streams earlier next week, but we'll see you again soon. Thanks again.